FightHype.com here with my man Paulie Malignaggi. Paulie, first and foremost, thank you for letting me come out to camp, see you spar a little bit, get in a little work for this next fight. I really do appreciate that, man.
No problem, man.
For sure, for sure. It's been a long time. So I gotta ask you, just because, you know, I've talked to you about this before, but why are you still fighting?
Yeah, you know, it's like I got into it a little bit before my last fight. You know, sometimes you just want to be able to keep dreaming a little longer. You know, like you just you got the itch is. It's not as big of an itch, don't get me wrong, but sometimes you just want to scratch it, and you just want to be able to feel just a little while longer that rush of really this stupendous emotion that is hard to really describe, you know, and especially being presented with this fight. I'm hearing it's a co-main event, a mega card in England, you know, it's a UK pay-per-view, in a co-main event. I mean, that means the crowd is going to be so into the fight, you know. I've always relished moments like that, opportunities like that in my life, you know. And when I was younger, it was like I came to expect them of myself, you know. But at this age, having the opportunity to do it, I feel blessed, you know, that I'm still able to do that and be able to fight on this kind of stage, you know, because you know you stop taking it for granted as you're older. You realize like, wow, this isn't forever, you know, this comes to an end. When you're young, you just feel like you almost have this trippy ego chip on your shoulder where you're like, I belong on the big stage every time. That's just who I am, you know. And that's how I was. That's how I thought of things when I was younger, you know. But as I get older and I realize like the big stage is kind of passing me by, the ship is sailing, and the next generation comes in, you know, I am really thankful to still be able to perform at this level, and I have gotten myself back at the point where I'm almost back in the top 10 essentially. You know what I'm saying? I mean, literally. The welterweight division is pretty top-heavy, but I'd say as far as the top 10 is concerned, at the bottom it's still pretty open season, you know. And I think a win over Sam Eggington really puts me back in the world top 10 of the welterweight division, you know. And that's something that, you know, at this stage of my life, at this stage of my career, you know, it would be a blessing to be able to achieve, you know. And then you know, I would take it from there after the next fight.
Does it make it harder on you to, you know, still get up and train, just knowing? Because I mean, I know, like, okay, so, like, I'm 43 now. When I was 20-something, I wasn't thinking about what it was going to be like when I'm 40-something. Yeah. You know, now that I'm 40-something, I'm like, oh shit, I'm getting closer to death. Yeah. So there's more things I want to do. Does that make it harder for you to still come in and train like that?
Some days I feel like, man, you know, why am I doing this? You know, making weight, dropping weight, you know, having to skip some meals, or having to, you know, skip the meals that I want to eat because I have to eat some other kind of meal, or maybe have a smaller meal than I would like to when I'm still hungry. You know, just, you know, working harder, even though your body's sore, you know. But, you know, then you think of the blessing that you have, you know, to be able to perform at the stage at my age, you know, and to be able to have such great fans to perform in front of, like in the UK, like I have, you know, and you know, I think of the moment. I think of walking out to the ring. I think of my name being introduced. I think of you know, the heat of the action and the crowd really get into it, you know. I'm a co-main event in England, man. You know that. I've done that before. I've done that on the Hatton Lascano card. The crowd is crazy. Yeah. The crowd is lightning, electric. It is so into it. You know, by that point of the night, especially, you have an entire arena singing and into the fight. You know, I'm fighting one of their guys, so the crowd will most definitely be into it. You know, and you know, I feel like I have a lot of fans out there too. I don't expect to be the fan favorite, but you know, I do expect my fight to generate some emotion out of the crowd. And I live for moments like that. You know, I love moments like that. I love that the crowds are appreciative of a fight that I'm a part of. You know, whether sometimes they go good or bad for me. You know, I'm appreciative of the fact that I'm still able to take part in fights that fans go home talking about. You know, and remember and whatnot. And you know, so sometimes on days where it's hard to get up, and sometimes on days where I'm sore, and sometimes on days where it's been, you know, days where I'm like, man, why am I still doing this? I think of the moments on fight night. I think of March 4th, and I think of, you know, walking out of the tunnel, walking out into the arena. And I think of stepping into the ring and hearing the crowd roar. And I think of hearing my name introduced. And I try to visualize myself winning the fight. And really, it motivates me to keep training. It motivates me to work as hard as I can every day. I just think of those moments, and they push me through these camps. And it's really, really pushing me through this camp. And now as I'm getting closer, I really relish the moment. You know, I can't wait to be on that plane heading to London. I can't wait to partake in the fight week promotional stuff. I can't wait for fight night, you know, and just to be a part of such a big event, you know, and be able to put this experience into my book of memories that I've had so many of throughout my career, you know, and maybe adding yet another chapter.
You know, you mentioned your book of memories, which I think is very important. You know, this fight taking place over in the UK. You know, obviously you're going to be over there for Fight Week and just all the festivities that go on over there. Do you think you would have been as willing to take this fight if it was, say, over here in, I don't know, I don't want to say Oklahoma, Texas, or, you know, just a co-main event over here?
The only thing I was going to take here was a chance at the European title, you know, because it was a belt that I wanted to win. Otherwise, I'm not sure that this fight would have really done anything for me in the U.S., you know, unless they would have thrown me a good amount of money, so to speak. You know,
well, money's always a motivating factor.
But of course, you know, put it in England. And yeah, you know, sometimes, you know, I saw something that Eggington had said a couple months back where he wanted to come to the U.S. to fight Malignaggi later in the year. But really, even at that moment when I had read that, I said, you know, why wouldn't I just fight Eggington there? Yeah, right. Granted, he would have the crowd there, but I'm all about the stage. I'm all about, you know, the performance and really where does it really get my juices flowing to perform, you know, and performing in England is something that I love. The fans are really appreciative. They make you feel like it's worth the work to put it into the gym every day. And so when the fight presented itself here, when the fight presented itself over there, I was excited to take it.
How you know, you mentioned the big stage and living for those moments. How do you know, being an older fighter, being a veteran fighter, how do you know when it's time to walk away from that? I mean, that feeling is almost like a drug.
Yeah, it is, and I think sometimes fighters, unfortunately, boxing retires them instead of they retire from boxing. You know, Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali, Sugar Ray Leonard all ended their careers on stoppage losses. You know, and so most guys end their careers on stoppage losses. There's not very many Lennox Lewis's or Floyd Mayweather's, but even Oscar De La Hoya ended on a stoppage loss. You know, not many Lewis's or Mayweather's where they can end their career on such a high. It's very, very difficult, so that you have to get that balancing act of when is it pushing too far? When is it pushing too far? I think a win here puts me in the top 10. Top 10 is quite an achievement for me at this stage in my career. It's funny, I was watching a documentary yesterday, one of the ESPN 30 for 30 documentaries, and it was on Jimmy Connors in 1991 U.S. Open. I don't know if you watch a lot of tennis. I watched the tennis, and Jimmy Connors got through the U.S. Open. He was 39 years old in 1991. He came in as a wild card, so to speak, ranked 175th in the world.
I remember that.
Connors had been number one in the world in the past, but he was pretty much an outcast at that point, And he wanted to make one last run, he said. And he said, going into the tournament, I wanted to go out on my terms. And I felt like, that's what a lot of boxers want to do. They want to go out on their terms, but they never get to, really. They always get beat, and then they kind of get forced out. Connors didn't win that tournament. Connors got to the semis though, and he beat it. He got some good wins, and he got to the semis, and he lost to Jim Courier in the semis. Now, Connors reaching the semis was a big moment for him though, because at that point everybody had written him off. He was able to retire off that performance. He didn't become the champion of the U.S. Open, but really it was a performance he could hold his head up high off of, So I start to wonder, because every fight could be the last one, so I start to wonder, when am I pushing just far enough, but not too far, So after every win, I go and analyze it. I'm going to go and analyze it after this win too, I go and get this win, I'm in the top 10. Is the top 10 my Jimmy Connors semifinal moment? Or do I push it and try to get to the final? Do I push it and try to get to one last big fight? And that's something that I'll have to think about. But right now, I give it, I pause and reflect, and I don't do it too much because I have my focus on Samuel Eggington on the 4th of March, and I want to make sure I win that fight and not think about anything else.
Is it all about sort of pleasing yourself, so to speak?
Yeah, of course. You do this mainly for yourself first, but the fans definitely make it worth your while. Without them, there just wouldn't be the rush and the boost of energy that sometimes you need, the pick me up sometimes you need. there's days I'm in the gym where I just don't want to be here, you know. And then I think of the crowd noise on March 4th. I've experienced the crowd noise both as a broadcaster and as a fighter in England, you know. And I think of that, and I say, you know what? It's going to be there for me. It's going to be there for my fight. I've got to be ready. You know, I got to perform for these people. You know, they deserve it. You know, and they look forward to it. It's a fight they're looking forward to. Be it that they're for Eggington or for Malignaggi, it's a fight they're looking forward to. That's why it's the co-main event, and it pushes me and it spurs me to push myself in the gym and to spar the extra rounds and to put in the extra work and to run that extra mile and to just motivate myself. If I want to stay in bed in the morning, no, you got to get up out of bed. You got to get up and get to that gym and put in the work and then put in the rest of the workouts you have during the day. You know, be a responsible adult, not just because you're a responsible adult and you're a responsible man, because also because these fans are looking forward to seeing what is always possibly your last performance, and so you always want to be the best you can be.